Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn how we can graph the trigonometric functions. We know that trigonometric functions, we have six trigonometric functions, or let's say we have a three, and which is other three, which is the reciprocal functions. We have sine, we have cosine, and we have tangent. Today we're going to learn how we can graph the sine trigonometric. Y is equal to sine 3x minus pi over 2. First step, when we need to graph a trigonometric functions, we need to identify the amplitude. We know that the rule of the trigonometric, let me write the rule, y is equal a times sine or a cosine bx minus c, or let's say plus c, plus d. This rule or this formula is according to McGraw-Hill book. Now, if I need to graph using the rule of the McGraw-Hill, first let's identify the amplitude. We know that amplitude is A. A is my amplitude. So the first thing, let's identify the amplitude, or let me write amplitude here. Amplitude. The amplitude is equal to. Amplitude means how my function, the graph will be, let's say the change of the amplitude will be in the range. We know that the range of the sine function is starting from -1 to 1. If I need to graph the original function, let me graph the original function of the sine. Start from 0, and here the whole period is 2 pi. Here should be pi. We know if I need to graph the sine x, the normal sine x, I can graph it by the first is 0, the last is 0, the middle is 0, and here should be 1, here should be -1. My functions will be here 1, and here should be, so this one will be my sine x. If you look here now to the sine x, the amplitude is controlling the y-axis. Means if the amplitude is 2, now this one should be 2, 2. So my function will be the same, except the amplitude will goes more down, more up, like this one here. Now, let's start graphing if I have b, which is 3x minus pi over 2. The first step after I identify the amplitude, now I need to identify number 2 is the period. Now, what's the period? Period means, okay, first let me write the rule. So the rule of period is 2 pi over b. Now, I know that b is equal 3, so 2 pi over 3. So this one is my period. Period means, just let me give you a small example. Let's say you are in a race, okay? You are in the race, and you see this is the whole, let's say this is the racing. So you have, this is the road that you need to race on. Now, if I say, what's the period is amount of the starting point to the ending point. So let's say there is a one here. So would you have to go and touch him, and he should to continue the other. So the period is means for this person, it's starting from here, ending here. But the period for the second person is starting from here and ending here. So the period always is, let's say, is different depending on the b, which means always we know this. The period it's 2 pi, but because b here is the 3, so the period it will be 2 pi over 3. Now, after I identify the 3 pi over 3, now I need to identify the starting point. Where should my graph start? Starting point, or let's say it's called start. So how can I calculate the start? There is also a rule, or let's say we call it a phase shift, which is negative c over b. And we know that negative c, let's write negative c is equal what? Negative pi over 2, negative pi over 2 over b. B is equal what? 3. Now, if I need to simplify this one, we know that if I have denominator, this one will goes down with multiply. So, and this one is still up, and negative with negative will be positive. Okay? And it will be pi over 2. 2 is go down, it will be 6. Now, my starting period, it should be pi over 6. Now, if I need to graph my functions again, let me graph it again. First thing, let me graph it. Now the xy axis. Now this one is 0. I have pi over 6. Now pi over 6, it should be somewhere here. This one is pi over 6. Now, after I know the starting point, I have to know what is the ending point, and I need to know what is the middle point. If I know these 2 points, I can graph my function easily. Now, how can I start? How can I find? This is the ending. Sorry, this is the starting point. This one is my starting point. Now, I need to know where is my ending point. What's the coordinate of the ending point? How can I know it? We know. I will tell you how. So the ending point. Okay. The ending point. We have a rule for the ending point. What's the rule of the ending point? The rule of the ending point is the start period, or let's say the period is plus the start. So let's call it start, the starting point plus the period that I get. Now, let's put the two answer here, okay? Equal start is 2 pi over 3 plus my period is pi over 6. Now, if I add these two together, I will get my ending point. Okay, so how can I first let's make the denominator same. So I have to multiply this denominator to make it 6. I have to multiply it with 2. So I have to multiply the numerator with 2. Now, if I need to simplify this, it will be 4 pi over 6 plus pi over 6. Now we have same denominator. Let's add the numerator. So denominator was still same. Numerator 4 pi. This one will be 1 pi. 4 pi plus 1 pi is equal 5 pi. So this one is my ending point. So I have the start point and I have the end point. Okay, let me do it in the blue color. So now as you can see here, this one will be my 5 pi over 6. Now, what I need to do, the only thing that I need to do or to find now is my middle point. Okay, if I find my middle point, that's it. No, I don't have to find any other points. How can I find the middle point? We know that any middle point can be found by the start plus end dividing by 2, which is the average. Now, if I need to find the middle point, okay, the middle point is a start, okay, starting point plus the ending point divided by 2. Okay, now if I need to find the starting point, let me write here. So the start point is pi over 6, pi over 6 plus the ending point is 5 pi over 6. So both of them divide by 2. So both of them divide by 2. What I can do now, I can take each one alone, okay, which means if I do this, okay, if I do this one here, dividing by 2, dividing by 2, okay, and also because I told you if you have a denominator, denominator will multiply with the numerator. So if I multiply, so my question will change. It will be pi over 12 plus 5 pi over 12. So now my midpoint, it will be, this is should be 1 because pi is 1. Now 1 pi plus 5 pi is equal 6 pi over 12. We can now simplify 6 over 12. 6 over 12, divide 6, so it will be pi over 2. Okay, now the middle point, well, it will be pi over 2. Now the rule of a graphing the rule of a graphing sign, we know that start and end point at what? At 1. Okay, sorry, at 0, at 0, and the middle point at 0, and other half are what? Other half is 1, okay, and -1. But here, because the amplitude is 2, so now the other half will be 2 and -2. So now let me put the coordinate. So we know this is 1 and this is -1. This one is sorry, this one is +2. This one is +2. This one is -2. Now, if I need to graph my functions, it will look like, let me draw it in the green one. So now the start point is this one. The middle point is this one. The end point of this one. Now I need 2 and -2. So the first half should be 2. The second half should be -2. Now my function will be like this. So this is how we can graph assign trigonometric functions following this rule: amplitude, period, start, end, midpoint, put the points, graph between them, and that's it. If the question asks you to graph 2 period or 3 period or whatever, let's say the question wants me to graph one more, how will I know the points? Okay, the same thing. This point will be my starting point for the second one, and I have to find the endpoint. How can I find the endpoint? The endpoint is start plus period. So this one is the start, the period is 2 pi over 3, then I can find the endpoint. And divide by 2, I can find the midpoint, then I can graph the second period. I hope you understand this one. If you have any question, contact me at my website. Have a good day. See you. Bye-bye.